Hello my gorgeous makeup loving friends, I hope you're having a fantastic day and a great start to your weekend. My name is Teresa and I love all things makeup, beauty and skincare, so on the weekends I like to hang out with you guys and talk about the newest releases in that category. However, there are frankly too many releases for me to talk about all of them, so I try to kind of streamline it into the stuff that is a little bit more noteworthy. But I'm not the one that necessarily does that. You guys help me. You tag me, you DM me, you email me to basically say, hey, these are the things I want you to talk about. So a massive thank you to everyone who does that. Your names are being displayed right now. You know the general drill. There would be no episode without you. A massive thank you to my YouTube community members. We had a very nice little hangout last weekend and I very much enjoyed it. And you guys know that I'm getting kittens and I will make sure to send you some videos of their little tomfoolery as it's occurring. But you know the general drill, guys. We must stay hydrated even in this cooler spooky season, and this is my mug du jour, and I can actually see the steam coming from my tea. We have two very cute little rabbits, or babbits, whatever it is that you want to call them. That's right, it is indeed a Tesco mug. But my gorgeous friends, let's just get straight into it. The first thing is essentially like a little bit of makeup news. Rhode, which is the brand by Hailey Bieber, is coming to Sephora UK on November 10th. So that is a brand that has not always been available for us around here. So if you're interested in that, it'll be available pretty darn soon. Personally, I don't really care. I'd heard some good things about their lip peptides, but frankly, I have lip peptides that I really like, so I don't necessarily need that. And also, Sephora, you never got the new Danessa Myricks palette, so I don't know what's going on with you, quite frankly, and I don't trust you. Pip pip. Not that it's a big issue, but you know, it is what it is. Anyways, the next big thing. Oh, sweet Jesus, right. So this is Narimi. It's one of those sea beauty brands and they've come out with two new 8-pan palettes. There's the Pumpkin Spice 8-color Chameleon palette for $47.99. And then there's the Misty Silver Lake 8-color Chameleon palette for $47.99. Both of them have 2 chameleons, 1 pearlescent and 5 mattes. And at the moment they're available over on Look Healthy store. For whatever reason, Sea Beauty Mall doesn't seem to have updated their store for the last while. And I'm like, okay, cool. I guess we're saving some money then. But my goodness, look at these palettes. I'm going to talk about the pumpkin spice one first, right? There's something about this that almost reminds me, maybe it's just the slight layout, but of the old school melt palettes when they did the Muerta thing. But Jesus Christ, look at the pigment on those. They are so good. Those mattes are crazy. And I have a few Narimi palettes and I will say I am pretty darn impressed with them. It's not that long ago actually that they came out with 2 palettes. One of them was like a very pinky toned leaning one, which I didn't get at the time, but the more I've looked at it, the more I've gone, I kind of want that. And I feel like the more I'm looking at these ones, the more I'm like, oh, okay. Because like, I mean, is it the most innovative thing to put orange and blue together? No, it's not. They're really good colours to put together because they contrast against each other and they kind of lend themselves towards more striking eye looks. But those look so good. Like genuinely, I think they look fabulous. And even the shimmers in there, brilliant. But for me, the mattes are pretty remarkable, something to really talk about. But the one that I'm very interested in is the Misty Silver Lake, because I mean, look, there's a little bit of grunge in there. Look at that deep murky green. There's like yes, it's a gold, but there's elements of green in there as well, a bright pop of like a purple blue, and then some more tealy colors in there. Like, I love that. That is so my kind of a colour story. Those shimmers, those metallics, they look beautiful. I mean, they had said over on the website that this had, I believe it was 2 chameleons, 1 pearlescent and 5 mattes. But it doesn't look like that's right at all. It looks like there's 4 mattes in there and then there's 4 kind of shimmery shades. So I guess Look Healthy store has to update that particular description. And I didn't really think about it until I saw it because I tried to put this all together at the last minute. But I don't really care because my God, that looks beautiful. Yeah, like even like the shimmery duochrome of like the green to blue, have I seen that before? Yes, I have. And I'm sure if I went through my entire collection, I could find it. I just like the way that this is curated. In saying that, does that mean that I need this? I know that I don't. Realistically, I don't. Because I like these shades, I have stuff that's similar to it. I do like Narimi's formula. I have become a little bit of a sea beauty hoe, and Narimi is a very good one. Right. In terms of the two of these, the price point I feel isn't the worst. I mean, $47.99 for 8-pan palettes. It's just about $6 per pan, and that's not the absolute worst that we've seen. those mattes pack a punch, and it's not something that you tend to see that often with C Beauty, because C Beauty, they do beautiful, like very blendable shades, but they're normally a little bit more muted, a little bit more kind of chilled out in shades. But these ones are really like whacking you in the face with colour, and I really appreciate that. That's something that I kind of see with Narimi. They do come out with really, really big, bold, colourful eyeshadows, and for me, I just find that a lot of fun. Yeah, I know that when I'm looking at this, I don't need it, but it's one of those ones that, you know, the more I look at it, the more I'm like, yeah, I do like that. I'd be happy to have that in my collection, but realistically, I don't need it. I know I don't, but I think it's very, very nice. I do like, though, that the more I see from C Beauty, the more I'm like, yeah, this is my jam. I enjoy what you're doing. And then we have another launch that's coming from the C Beauty realm. This is 3CE, and this is the Ram Hand Scarf Collection. It seems to be some sort of a collaboration. I will say I don't know what Ram Hand Scarf is. Apparently, I think you get like a little scarf as part of the collection. It looks nice. There was a lot of random pictures of this gorgeous little cat, and you know what? I'm here for it. It's a nice little collection. There's the Lavender Moon eyeshadow for $42.99. There's two blushers. One is Curious Mauve, and the other one is Unusual Day. Unusual Day seems to be much lighter in tone. They're $19.99 each. There's three lipsticks. Two of them are kind of, we'll say, like everyday shades. There's Fascinated and Second Skin, and then the third one is called Galactic, and that has like this really interesting sort of grey tone. They're $19.99 each, and if you want the all-in-one makeup set, it's $169.99, which I believe comes with the scarf. I'm going to talk about the eyeshadow palette first, because why not? This is kind of what I was saying previously about the C Beauty stuff, that you will get like really beautiful tones, but they are a little bit more muted. They are a little bit more held back. These are more kind of for your everyday wearer who wants a little pop of something. Now, I will say the shimmer there looks really, really beautiful. I like that it's kind of one of those transparency base things. I think that looks so, so beautiful. I love kind of those light shades of like purple, etc. It looks really pretty. It does. Like, I don't have anything negative to say about it. The swatches look like they're quite blendable, quite pigmented, but it's just the shades themselves. They're not very like wabam, powerful, bright, colourful shades, which is kind of what you see with these brands these days. But you know what? I think it's beautiful. I think it's very, very pretty. I'd personally enjoy using it, but I know if I go through my collection, I have stuff like this already. It is very, very cute though. But the blushes, this is what I find really interesting, is like they've swatched them on the arm, and I'm like, ah yes, Curious Mauve is quite interesting. And then I'm like, where the fuck is Unusual Day? Is it meant to be really fair? What's going on here? It's almost more like powdery, but they put it down as being a blush, and I'm a little bit confused, because even when you see it on the face, it's this cool toned colour, and I'm like, oh, I would have never associated that as being a blush, but they're saying it's a blush, and I'm more looking at it as being like almost like an under eye powder. It's really unusual. I've never seen anything quite like that before, so I like personally think well done for actually doing something a little bit different. I'm kind of here for it. The Curious Mauve shade, I mean, I like that. I think that looks really, really nice, but it's something that I kind of have already. In terms of the lipsticks, I mean, they've obviously swatched them out on the arms. Fascinated and Second Skin, which by the way, Second Skin is always such a weird phrase. I don't know why. It doesn't sit well with me. I don't like it. There's something a bit Buffalo Bill about it, and it makes me feel a little bit on edge. But that shade Galactic, wait till you see it on the lips. It is beautiful. So the shades Second Skin and Fascinated, they're pretty par for the course. There's nothing that I'd say, oh, that's really different and very unusual. Do I think they're worth the price? Yeah, I actually think, you know, the price of $19.99 isn't bad for this. You know, I've seen worse for a lot more money. But the shade Galactic, you know my affinity for the corpse lips. I don't know what it is with me these days, but I do like a really, like, and I mean cool toned, like very cool toned lip. And I think this is really, really nice. And I feel like it's so different to the other two shades that you're kind of like, oh, I can't believe that comes from the same collection. But I do think that that is really, really nice. Overall, the collection, I mean, if you want to get the whole thing for $170, I feel like you're doing okay. I mean, you're getting a palette, you're getting two blushes, and you're getting three lipsticks. So that's 6 products. It's not the absolute worst. I personally feel like a lot of this is stuff that we've seen before, even from like more mainstream brands. Like if I looked at that lavender palette, if I'm being 100% honest with myself, which I hate doing, but if I was honest with myself, I could look at a lot of my stuff and there's something about that palette that gives me a little bit of a Huda vibe, right? Even the tones, that pale purpley pinky tones. I'm like, I could go through a few of my Huda palettes and I'd probably have a few shadows like that. The blushes, I think is the one that really gets me is the very aptly named Unusual Day. I'm like, wow, how does that work? Maybe I've misunderstood blush for years, but I feel it's not actually a blush, but I can't figure out what it actually is. And I am, if nothing else, intrigued because it's so different. I'd love to know what that would be like on stage. I know that's such a ridiculous thing to wonder, but like, I'd love to see how that would translate under like really, really, really bright lights. Would it give you that like crazy cast? Because that sometimes does happen, you know, when you've like foundations and powders and stuff, you actually have to build in a lot more colour to really wabam it up. So I find that interesting. The lipsticks, whatever, it's Galactic that's got me. However, I know I have stuff like this already, so it's not something that I necessarily need, but I do think it's nice. It's not the best Sea Beauty thing I've seen, definitely not, but it's also not the worst. We then move on to Florasis, and this is their Beiijing Opera Makeup Palette. Apparently it's limited edition. It's available over on Ulta Beauty right now for $59. It doesn't seem to be on Florasis's own website, which is quite interesting, but they say it's inspired by the amazing costume, unforgettable makeup of Beiijing opera and the craftsmanship of relief engraving. This face palette is engraved with the classic character and opera headdresses to honour the spirit of this ancestral art. Enriched with the king of flowers peony seed oil extract, gently nourishes with natural antioxidant and skin clarifying benefits. This is one of those brands that has kind of taken off quite a bit over the last while, and they have a lot of palettes that are kind of shaped in that particular way. If you guys know me or have seen me for a while, you know that I have a little bit of a bugbear about palettes that are shaped strangely. Look, we all have our demons. I just don't love it because I look at something like this and kind of go, okay, how would I store it? And that essentially irks me probably a lot more than it reasonably should, right? Well, I look at that and I'm like, you know what, that's quite interesting in the sense that, you know, they're bold colours. As I said previously, you don't tend to see a lot of bold colours in this particular genre of makeup, but then when you see them swatched, it's a bit like, oh, this is not as interesting. And, you know, yeah, they've those bold colours, but it doesn't feel like they entirely cohere with each other. Having those kind of bold primary colours, for me at least, and feel free to disagree, that's the point of these things. There's something about this that translates as more almost like primary school child-esque rather than something that is as sophisticated and ornate as the Beiijing opera. So I'm kind of surprised that they went for these particular colours and that they don't cohere in the way that you would think they do. Now I will say, when you see them on the eye, they look beautiful. However, I feel like they don't blend that great. I mean, right, if you look at that blue, that dark blue, it's a very nice blue, but the edges there are quite sharp and it doesn't look like they've blended it out properly into the face. At least I don't think so, and feel free to disagree, because who the fuck am I to say? I'm not a makeup expert. I'm just somebody who like enjoys makeup. So I feel like this is not necessarily the best way for them to advertise it, you know? It looks like it has a decent amount of pigment on the eye. I will say that, and I appreciate that. I mean, swatches will only tell you so much. Seeing them in action on the eye is really, really important, and at least getting that eye look, it gives us some indication of the blendability. So I do appreciate that they have that. Florasis as a brand hasn't really kind of appealed to me, even though I have been getting more into that general field of makeup. I think it's just because it seems really expensive for what it is. I appreciate all of the ornate stuff that they do of the engraving in the pan, but I've said this before, whenever I see that in a pan, I then feel guilty about using it because I'm like, oh no, it's so beautiful, I should leave it like that. And frankly, why would I spend $59 US if I'm not going to use it? That would be really, really silly. It's a pretty palette in its own way, you know, it's very different for them, and I essentially applaud them for trying something a little bit different. But it feels very incoherent and kind of difficult to work with in the sense of putting together something that makes a lot of sense. And seeing how some of the shades, it looked like they weren't quite blending into each other, that kind of would make me worry about using these. Like the kind of core part about having colours like these might be being able to mix them and do your own things with them, but it feels like you can't really do that with this. Now, I could be completely wrong. You might be coming in here and kind of going, actually, Teresa, I have a lot of experience with Florasis. I think they're fantastic. Please do tell me. I'm just literally going on what I'm saying. I could be completely wrong. This is not an educated guess. This is just sheer opinions. We all have them, and some are wrong. Mine might be wrong. Who knows? But just on this occasion, I think it just leans a little flat for what they're attempting to do with it, but I do applaud them for doing something that is quite different for them, so well done. Last week I was also talking to you guys about the Grinch collection that was coming out with Colourpop, and I had just seen a little glimpse of it, but now we know the whole thing is there, so we might as well just buckle on up and talk about it as quickly as we can. Let's get through this medical procedure. Essentially, there's a few different things in this. There's the How the Grinch Stole Christmas eyeshadow palette for $25, the Merry Grinchmas Swirl lip gloss kit for $25, the Change of Heart Super Shock highlighter kit for $16. You can't buy them separately. The Pinky Who So Juicy Plumping Gloss Balm and Lip Liner kit for $16. And then there's a second lip liner kit, which is the Berry Grinchy So Juicy Plumping Gloss Balm and Lip Liner kit. Again, $16. There is the Liked Christmas A Lot shadow sticks for $16. The Glitterily Obsessed Body Glitter in Who Hash for $11. And if you wanted, you could get the full collection for $120. Let us discuss the eyeshadow palette. I mean, I say this every single time that I talk about a Colourpop eyeshadow palette. Where the fuck is the depth? This is so light. There's like a lot of very, very light shades. And yes, I appreciate that you've kind of swatched this on deeper skin tones, but there isn't enough depth for this to work on deeper skin tones. That's something that I've noticed with Colourpop for ages. And this is somebody that has their own facilities to make their own products. So I truly don't understand what it is that they're doing. Like, there's kind of singular shades in here that I quite like. Obviously, I'm looking at the shade Mr. Grinch and going, look, a very nice green. Because look, that's just who I am as a person. But in general, if I saw this colour story, there's nothing about this that would make me go, ah yes, the Grinch. Nothing. I just feel like they had this palette somewhere in the back and somebody went, God, that green colour looks a bit like the Grinch. And then they went, yeah, fuck it, let's put Grinch merchandise on this to sell it. It's very silly. In terms of the lip glosses, I mean, do we need as many lip sets as they have in this? There's the 3-piece lip gloss set, and then there's 2 lip liner, lip balmy thing sets, 2 separate ones. So there's 3 lip products in the whole thing. For me, that seems a smidgen excessive. And I mean, they look fine. They look fine on, I personally like, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but I'd like to see these on lips that maybe didn't have filler in them, because I don't have filler. So I'd like to see what these things look like. You know how there's certain lip products and they will look different based upon if you have filler, etc. It's a very like, whatever gloss, like in the nicest way possible. Don't give a shit. It doesn't look interesting to me. I don't care. In terms of the highlighters, I find it very odd that they're selling them together rather than selling them separately. I think there should be an option to sell those separately, because I mean, what if one shade worked for you and the other one didn't? Not everyone has friends, Colourpop. How dare you come for me? Like, it's fine, and I will say they look nice enough on the models. It does look like they work on a variety of skin tones, but also I have a lot of question marks on this, because these are static pictures. So I need to know with highlighters, are they leaving like that sort of a streak? Is it just that it looks great in that lighting at that exact angle? I want to see a little bit of dynamism. Might just be me. Feel free to disagree. Normally I really like their Super Shock highlighters. Well, I wouldn't say really like, but I'm like, yeah, that's one of their better products, but there's nothing about that that's wildly interesting to me. In terms of the lip liner and balm sets, the fuck are they even doing? Like those 2 lip liners, they don't look exactly the same as each other, but they're tonally not far off of each other. Yeah, the lip balmy thing is a little bit different, but like, what are we even doing? The first set here, it doesn't look fantastic on the lips, is what I will say. It does look a little bit oopy goopy. And I mean, maybe that's the way that you want to wear things. I'm not gonna like criticize you for that. It wouldn't be my kind of thing. It is a plumping lip liner. Ugh, you know my feelings on that. That's never great. Then the other one, I mean, did you need that and have the lip glosses? Like, this is just so samey and repetitive that I truly don't understand why that's there and how it links. They're fine. They're grand. Forgettable. Absolutely forgettable. I do appreciate the lovely eyeliner work that they've done on the model there. That does look quite pretty, and it does look like they blend into each other, and I appreciate that they've shown it on a darker skin color so that we can determine kind of the level of pigment and whether it's going to work for that particular cohort, because we often don't see that from Colourpop. But there's nothing, like, I'm not wowed by it, but I'm rarely wowed by Colourpop, so I mean, that's just kind of more of the same. I do like the glitterily obsessed. I generally like the glitterally obsessed because apparently that's just the sort of person I am. I'm like, yes, let's have some little microplastics and just shove them onto our body because, well, why not? It's in our blood now. Why shouldn't it be on our body? It's been hard to find pictures of them like using it properly. That's why I have like a picture of a person's décolletage there, in case you're like, what is going on? It's all a little bit odd, and I'm very aware of that. In terms of the collection overall, I mean, if you didn't put the actual packaging of this is the Grinch, I wouldn't fucking know it was the Grinch. And feel free to disagree, but I feel like a lot of people would also be like, there's nothing about this that screams the Grinch, other than they're trying to steal something from us, which is our money, and you're not allowed to have that, Colourpop. There's literally nothing in this collection that stands out to me as being something that is very necessary or needed. They're okay in terms of their formulation. They're not bad. They're not great either. You know, they're very middle of the road. They're not bad if you wanted like stocking fillers, etc. But I think that they've given up a lot of innovation. They don't tend to listen to consumer feedback in terms of the depth of their palettes, and I think that is something that is eventually going to impact them, because I mean, let's be 100% real. Look at the amount of options that we have, right? We have so many options. We do not have to rely on Colourpop. Like, I get it, they're getting a lot of IP work, but you know what? They're not the only brand that gets IP collaborations. And for me, this was just a very, very lazy, ill thought out one. I will say, however, I don't have a major love or affinity with the Grinch. I know that some people do. I think it's partly a cultural thing. Like in Ireland, it wouldn't be, maybe I'm speaking on behalf of Irish people unnecessarily. But like, I know that the Grinch is like a Dr. Seuss book and all of that. So like Americans, etc., would tend to have grown up with it a little bit more. The Irish, not so much. There was obviously the Jim Carrey film and we would have seen that, but it wouldn't be as much part of our persona. So I don't know. I personally don't get it. It's not for me, but we've talked about it and now we can move on with our lives. And I feel like this is another one that I'm going to be like, let's just try and brace ourselves and get through this. Glamlite sneak peeked this a really long time ago. I want to say about 2 or 3 months ago. We knew that this Saw collection was coming up. They've put all over their website, you know, that they're the #1 horror makeup collab thing. And I'm like, are there that many that are doing that? I feel like that's not like a big thing to boast about. But it's finally available, at least as you're watching. There's obviously quite a few things in it. It's launching, or will have launched, on Friday, October 24th on their website. But if you're waiting for the TikTok shop launch, which I don't know why you would, but maybe you are, that's coming October 30th. So there you go. You can get the PR box of the full collection for $125. You can get the full collection without a PR box for $115. There's the Saw palette for $35, the blush duo for $16, a brush set for $22, a lip duo for $18, a mirror, because of course there is one, for $26, a makeup bag for $24. Let us discuss the eyeshadow palette. I mean, what the fuck am I even looking at, right? I get get that, like, you know, Saw is meant to be like a horror movie and a little bit traumatic, but maybe the colours should have something interesting. Like, it shouldn't be so boring and dull and gritty. Like, I get, like, you might need a darker colour palette, but this, Jesus Christ, like, even the way they've pictured it, this is really, really dull. Maybe it's just that they haven't put lights there so you can't see the sparkles, because sometimes their sparkles are pretty good. But for me, and feel free to disagree, this feels like every other palette that they've done as part of the aforementioned amazing horror collections. It feels like it is a Frankenstein collection of every other horror palette, and they've taken like a shade out of each of them and just shoved it in. That white shade with the red splotches in the middle reminds me a little bit of the Lethal Cosmetics Dexter collaboration. But other than that, I don't get it. I've never actually watched the film Saw. I'm not into those sort of films. So again, I don't have any major link with that, but it feels really odd. The lip duo set, I mean, what are we doing, lads? They keep doing the same things over and over again, and I do feel like I'm slightly losing my mind. I'm not talking about Glamlite as much as I used to, frankly, because I don't want to, but it does feel a bit meh, you know? They tend to just kind of recycle the same kind of colours over and over again. And I love a red, but I'm like, we could do something a bit different. Could be interesting. Do you know, like a black would have been really cool. But I feel like Glamlite are actually playing it quite safe. In terms of the blush duo, as per usual, I've taken these photos, by the way, from their Instagram. They haven't shown it on, they haven't done any swatches. So there's only so much that I can say about this. I don't know what the pigmentation is like on this. I don't know how buildable it is. I don't know whether it's going to work for different skin tones, but there's something really funny about seeing like a really pale dusty pink in a horror collection. I don't know why, but I'm just like, that there's something almost benefity about this. And yeah, they put a lot of effort into their packaging. You gotta give them that. But I'm too old to be buying things for packaging these days. Like, I want my stuff to be cool and interesting and working, but I don't know. I'm surprised they didn't do a highlighter, because I feel like their highlighters are really, really fucking good, you know? Although maybe there's only so many highlighters you can do without essentially repeating yourself. Then in terms of the brush set, I mean, it looks fine. It's very like, you've seen one brush set, you've seen them all. I don't tend to love brush sets. I like buying singular brushes so that I can pick and choose what I'd like. These are very like generic shapes. They're grand. Kind of like the handle. Looks like you'd have like a little bit of like a sort of a time turner type thing, like a kitchen timer. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but you know, when you turn it over and the liquid flows. I don't know, it's late at night when I'm filming and I'm not very coherent. The brush shapes look grand, but it's all stuff that I've had before. I mean, they do a mirror every single collection. I personally don't get it, but it might be because I'm pretty without sight. When I'm actually putting on makeup, I have to have a mirror right up to my eyeball, so I don't tend to get very excited about mirrors. I'm just like, yeah, okay, I suppose they're there. But I know that some people love collecting them, to each their own. I personally, I'm like, there's only so much space that I have in my house, and I don't want to be looking at myself. I don't want mirrors everywhere. This is fine, you know, it's fine. We don't need a mirror with every single launch. Then in terms of the bag, I actually think it's one of the lesser bags that they've done. Normally with their last couple of collections, in terms of the horror collections, they've done quite interesting bags, and it seems to be the things that people are quite interested in. This is a very generic makeup bag that I feel like I could buy down in Boots, like even down to the shape. Like, yeah, okay, the imagery is a little bit different, but there's nothing in there that really differentiates it, other than, you know, they've put the special little zips on and you have the kind of logo there to say Saw. But I don't think it's very interesting. I really don't. In terms of the collection overall, I think it's really interesting that they sneak peeked this as long ago as they did. And I feel like this might have worked against them, because, like, you know, the more forewarning that you have about something, the more that you might dream up what it might actually look like. And not that I'd spent a lot of thought on this, because it's not an IP that I'm bothered about, but this is not something that I think is wildly interesting or is necessarily the best use of an IP. I have said it many a time before, I would actually like to see Glamlite doing something themselves that's outside of using an IP, or outside of using like some sort of a theme around food. I want to know what they are as a brand outside of their collaborations with things. I don't know who they are. Do you know what I mean? They've also had like a couple of drama with the way that they've like treated customers, etc. It's just not a brand that I'm really that interested in anymore. They definitely had their hype day, but for me, I feel like they're kind of not done, but they've definitely peaked and they've gone down a little bit, and unless they get like a really big collaboration, they'll probably go back to like the likes of Michaela and Aguera again, because that seems to generate a lot of interest for them. Unless they do something like that again, I can't see them getting the big sales that they once did. But yeah, in general, this entire collab is not for me, and I don't think you'll be that surprised. But there we go. We then have About Face, which have quite a few things actually launching at the moment. The first thing that we're going to talk about are their cooling chromes. This is apparently a uniquely cooling to the touch eyeshadow and face highlighter. I mean, it's not that unique. You guys know I love About Face, I really do. But we've seen this sort of thing before. Dose of Colours came out with it, Juicy came out with it, She Glam came out with it. I mean, even Beauty Bay did ones recently. So it's not a unique sort of thing, but I do like these sort of formulas. I do. So I'm looking at it kind of going, okay, interesting. It has an ultra shimmery finish in just one swipe. It apparently is very versatile. It comes in 6 shimmery shades, and they say that it delivers subtle sheer shimmer or high sparkle saturation. They're $20 each, which is actually not a bad price at all. And my major issue is that I went between both About Face and Ulta Beauty, because this is available over on Ulta Beauty but also over on About Face, and I could not find swatches. They did have some pictures of it on the eye over on About Face, but frankly, they weren't really selling it to me, you know? And I find that unusual, because normally I like a lot of About Face's stuff, but I feel like they haven't really hit the mark right on this. This could be one of those things that is very dark horse material, that it doesn't look amazing in the way that they've photographed it. We've seen brands do this before. Look at Beauty Bay and their terrible job with doing like things like the mini charms, which is actually a really nice palette. I feel like this is what's happened here. The way that they've photographed it doesn't look great, and it isn't showing it off. I'm reserving judgment. I think this could be quite interesting, but I'm not going to get it because I've got a lot of these sorts of things already. I literally just named out a bunch of brands that have done things like this. So this isn't really truly unique, at least to me, in my collection, but I think the price point is pretty good. And I feel like that brand in general just does a lot of interesting things. So I'm not against it. It does feel though like they've done a lot. Like last week I was talking about their vinyl eye gloss, and now this week we have a lot of things that they're doing. And one of the things I've said about Face that I really like is that it feels like they're quite forward thinking, and they're not kind of doing 101 different things. It feels like they're very pragmatic in their launches, but this feels like we've actually suddenly got like a big flux. And I get that the last one, it was all to do with Halloween, and now this one is, I think, coming more into the Christmas holiday section, but I feel a little bit overwhelmed, but that might just be me. But we do have another About Face thing to talk about. This is the Shimmer Stick. So this is a shimmer loaded cream and powder eye combo that creates an effortless smoky eye in seconds. They say you can dial up the intensity with a creamy crayon for depth and definition, plus a sponge tip preloaded with shimmery powder for a seamless smoky finish. It comes in 6 shades. They're available now for $19 each. I'm going to be honest here. I'm a little bit like, I don't know what's happening, because I normally like About Face, and there's bits of it that I'm quite interested in, but I think the bit that's got me is the preloaded sponge tip. I don't like that for hygiene reasons. There's something about that I'm like, oh no, could we please not do that? Like, how is that gonna work? Now you're probably sitting there, Teresa, going, it's not that big an issue and I'll just use it to myself. That's totally fine. That grand, delighted for you. There's just something about that kind of makes me kind of go, I'm not so sure about that. I will say, out of the 6 shades, I don't think they needed to have all 6. I think they could have actually just released 3 and it would have looked pretty much the same, because it does feel like 4 of those are far too close to each other to really be considered to be very, very different. I like the black and grey one. Like when you see it on the eye, there's something quite grungy and interesting about that. I like that. The rest of them, again, they just have not photographed this well, and I'm frustrated for About Face because I like their products a lot. I think they're really, really great and the value is fantastic, but they are not selling this very well. This feels like a slightly weaker launch from the brand. Maybe this is because like I can get them now at Space NK, so now like the want is gone. It's not, I still want some other things. But this one, I'm not sitting here being like, oh my god, I want all of it. I maybe want the black one, but it's the sponge tip thing that really I don't like. And I'm also like, how much product would I actually get with that? I like actually being able to see the thing. Maybe I'm being really, really weird. However, what I will say is I like that this is legitimately quite different. I like that they're trying something that is innovative. It may not necessarily land, and that's okay, right? I appreciate the fact that they are messing about with things. They're not necessarily going with what everyone else is doing. So even though it may not necessarily be for me, I appreciate the fact that we're seeing something that is outside of your everyday makeup experience. So I'm quite happy with that in that sense. We have one final thing from About Face. Do you see what I mean? There's a lot of stuff from this. There's the Cherry Pick Lip Shimmer. They're a high shine and shimmery balm. There's 6 shades. They're available now for $20 each. They say it's their best selling Cherry Pick Lip Color Butter formula, but it now has a shimmery finish and high shine saturation. It's formulated with pomegranate flower extract and cherry butter, known to plump, moisturize and nourish lips. And when I saw this, the first thing that I thought of was the Fenty Beauty lip shimmer sticks. It reminds me quite a bit of that. Now, the major thing that I would say here is no more than the previous collection. Do I think that they needed to have all 6 of these? No, I actually think they could have reduced it down to maybe 4 out of the 6, because there's a few of them that have considerable overlap, because I think it's a little bit repetitive. But I mean, if you look at that first shade, that white shade, look at that on the lips. That is actually genuinely quite interesting. And for $20, yes, it's not far off of Fenty's price, which is I think about $24. But I mean, for a lot of people that $4 does make quite the difference. So I actually really like that. I think that's quite interesting. The next shade is a little bit more kind of everyday shade. I'm not against it. It's one of those ones that I do feel that they've repeated a lot across this launch. Like you'll see it even with the next one. Yes, it's a little bit more peachier than the previous, which is a little bit more pink, but did they necessarily need to have quite as many as these? Like they could have extended that down the line. I do like the red one. I don't think it would look amazing on me, because I think that exact tone of red is a little bit too pink. I appreciate the fact that they put on the lips, because I would have thought that was a lot darker based upon the swatch. It is nice. I just don't think I could get away with it. The kind of pinky, dusty pink, that's really nice as well. I wish that they had more photos of these on a diversity of skin tones, just so I could see what the story is, but I'm going with what I have. And again, then that last shade, it does seem reminiscent of the others that we've kind of talked about previously. So I'm not sure about how much overlap there is with some of these, but I do think it is quite interesting. The price point for this is, in my opinion at least, pretty darn good. Like $20 for something like this. I like it. I do. Do I need it? No, I actually have a few of the Fenty sticks, right? This isn't necessarily new, but at least it's making something relatively interesting be available to people, because like, let's be real, we are struggling with finding alternatives to things, right? Elf, which used to be great for the old dupes, I will not go near them. I cannot stand the brand now. I don't think they can ever come back from what they did. So I mean, people would normally go to them. They go to places like Milani or NYX, etc., for something a little bit more affordable. And this feels like it's a smidgen more expensive than, say, the likes of NYX. But I think it's a really nice alternative to if you wanted something a little bit more expensive. So I quite like this. Do I need it? No. But I think it's quite nice. It's one of those ones that probably, if I was at Space NK in Dublin and was messing around, that I'd probably go, you know what, I might end up getting this. But it's not something that is making me go, yeah, I'm going to have to get this. Like, hold me down. but it's not a bad one. Then we have Arttitude Cosmetics, who have revealed and actually subsequently launched their new palette. This is not a full collection, it is just a singular palette. This is Submerged. I knew it was going to be something like siren, mermaidy themed. It's available right now for £40. If you want, you can use my code, it's Teresa10, it'll get you 10% off. Under their kind of post talking about this, they said, I know there are so many siren themed palettes about now, but I've had this concept in my head for the past 3 years and I've been actively working on it for the last 2. I do think that's a slight bit of an issue of the fact that we do have a lot of brands that have done these siren sort of palettes. I mean, there's a few that comes to my mind. Jolie Beauty for one, Clarity Cosmetics, even things like Lunar Beauty have done them, and Blend Bunny, of course, have done it twice. I think as much as you might have an idea in your head, it mightn't necessarily be a great idea to go forward with it if you see that it's saturated in the market or that there's a lot of it in the market. I get wanting to go forward with it, but sometimes you do have to be very aware of what's going on in the background. Like the palette itself, it looks really quite nice. There's a lot in this. They've gone a talc-free formula. I have said this before. Their formula with every release has gotten better and better and better. So if you like this colour story, all I can say is you're probably going to have a lovely time with it, right? I think it's probably going to be quite nice. There's apparently 2 true multi-chromes and there's a holochrome, and the rest of the shimmers are duochromes. So you're getting like a lot of bang for your buck there. And keeping the price down to £40 is pretty incredible when you're talking about a talc-free formula. Now, there's a lot of people that are pointing out that this is very similar to things like the Arcana palette, etc. And that I am inclined to agree. So even though you can have sister palettes, and they actually did that with the Arcana, and there was like the Metamorphosis palette, I felt like there was a bit of, not overlap, but complementary things there. That's too many palettes in succession that have a purple, blue and green theme, in my opinion. Yes, this is different in the sense that you're looking at something that's a lot more murky, a lot deeper in tone. The previous palettes were a lot lighter, so you are technically getting different colours. It's just still a very similar colour story. I do hope that the next launch will be quite different, that we will see something that is far removed from this. Not that it isn't beautiful, but I'd just like to see some newer and some more fresh ideas. I do think it looks lovely, but because I have a lot of colour stories like this, it's something that I decided I wasn't going to pick up. Plus, as I said at the beginning, I'm getting 2 new kittens and I have had to buy a lot of bits and pieces for them, because I just want to spoil them. I'm picking them up tomorrow as I'm filming, so I'm very excited about that. I think it's a lovely palette. Cine did some beautiful swatches. Like, they do look, like my voice broke. I was like, oh yeah, they are nice. Like, they do look really, really beautiful. But I feel like there's a lot of colour stories like this on the market, like the Bella Beauté bars, the Ocean Jewels, etc. Like, there's a lot like that. If, however, you're based in the UK and you liked the Bella Beauté bar, couldn't get your hands on it, this might be a good alternative to that. So it's not a bad one, just not for me in this particular instance, but there you go. We then have Patrick Ta. Patrick, why so many launches? You need to lie down. This, it seems, is part of essentially their holiday sets. There's 2 different gift sets, and they're the Major Headlines Blush Duo and Plumping Lip Gloss Makeup gift set. They come in 2 different shades. They're $49 each. There's Ice Me Down and there's the Warm Me Up, and essentially they're available right now. Look, if we're not to say anything else about Patrick Ta, I think we all know his favourite colour is pink. And I respect somebody who loves the colour and just goes with it. But there comes a point where you do have to say, you know what, there are other colours and maybe I should try something a little bit different. $49, I mean, it's grand. It looks fine. I mean, I think maybe the 2 shades, I mean, the fact that you're coming out with 2 palettes that are both pink. The last holiday thing that came out last year was also pink. Maybe switch it up, Patrick. Maybe try something a little bit different. Now, they do look beautiful on, like, even when you see the out of office one, like, that does look really pretty. I have absolutely no issues on that. I will say, seeing the gloss on, it's a lot more anticlimactic. It looks a lot more interesting in the actual tube. Then the deeper shadow or the deeper blush on holiday, it's it's grand. You know, it does. It looks pretty. It's obviously much deeper in tone, but I don't think that we need quite so many pink blushes, etc. Yeah, I mean, Patrick, he does a lot. He does a lot. And there's part of me that wonders if maybe he's doing so many launches because he's trying to get investors. Look, this is me just sheer wondering. There's absolutely no basis to this. It's just, I remember that when Anastasia Beverly Hills were looking to sell, they were coming out with a bunch of launches so that they could increase essentially the amount that was on their books, so that for prospective buyers it would look like it was more of a deal. It just feels like he's doing a lot of stuff, but it's quite repetitive. Frankly, I've said about as much as I really want to say about it, but like, I could have swiped past this and gone, oh yeah, sure, that's more of the same of what he's done before, and yet this is technically new. I don't know. For somebody who's a makeup artist, I would expect a lot more innovation, a lot more thought, a lot more diversity. We haven't, like, the fact that we're talking about pink so often, I'd like to see something a bit different. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm being unnecessarily harsh. Maybe I'm being a bit of a bitch today. Honestly, who knows? But this one just isn't for me. And isn't that fantastic? Because that means that I get to save some money. Girl math. I feel like I didn't see anybody talking about this, and I'm frankly confused because I really enjoy Half Magic Beauty. I love their little single shadows. They have 3 new singles. They're $14 each. There's Possessed Pearl, which is a cool taupe shade with an icy sparkle. There's Sparkle Puff, a champagne shade with icy blue sparkle, and Tickle Spell, a gold shade with icy sparkle. Oh my god. Look, I really like the Half Magic stuff that I have. I've bought quite a few of their bits of late. Like, you know, I love their glitter puck, you know that I love their lip glosses, but I really like their single shadows as well. They're my lazy day things, right? If I want to look quite interesting but I'm tired, which is, can I just tell you, that happens a lot. I wake up tired and I just want something that looks really interesting but can't be fucking bothered. It's these shadows. I'll whack on something a little bit dark and then just pat that all on the eyelid, and I get a little bit of shimmer, I get a little bit of sparkle. They are fantastic, right? I have quite a few of them. The lizard one, the leaping lizard one, that's really interesting. I really like that. But these shades, I swear to God, you had me at taupe. The Possessed Pearl, the fact that that's a cool taupe shade. Are these shades that I have in other things? Yes, I absolutely do. Actually, if I look at the little mini Beauty Bay mini neutral charms palette, I actually think probably there's a few of those shades that overlap. So maybe I need to like draw myself back ever so slightly, but they look so beautiful and they look so pigmented. I do wish they would show this in slightly different ways. Like, I appreciate the fact that they've built it up in the eye to be like, this is what it looks like if you whack it on. That's not how I personally wear it. If that's how you wear it, that's totally fine. That's up to you. I like more just gently tapping it on so that there's like a little bit of shimmery. I like adding in those textures. So I kind of wish they showed it not just built up, but also tapped on and used with some of like their shimmer stick eye crayon-y things, because that's a really, really nice sort of a mixture. They do look very nice. I wonder also how they would work if also you used maybe, for example, the Sparkle Puff, because that's a champagne shade with icy blue sparkle. That's interesting to me. I wonder what that would be like if it was used hypothetically as, I don't know, maybe a highlighter. I don't know. I think it's quite interesting. And then the gold one, I like that there's a little tinge of green in there. Maybe it's just whatever way I'm looking at it, but it does look quite interesting. I do like the look of this. I do. I can't lie. Can't tell a lie. I do find this interesting, but because I got that little mini charms neutral palette from Beauty Bay, and it seems like there's a little bit of overlap, and I'd use those in the same way that I'd use these. I'm trying to kind of hold myself back on this, although I do feel like $14 per shade isn't bad at all. Like, you do get a decent amount of product with it, so I'm not sitting here being like, oh, it's a terrible price for what you're getting. I think it is pretty good. I'm just, again, trying to monitor myself and make sure that I'm not running off and buying stuff unnecessarily. But I do think it's nice. And it's nice to see a very small little launch of an existing thing that they have, but they've just expanded on it. I feel like that's what Half Magic Beauty does quite well. They don't do like huge launches outside of like when they originally started. They did a big launch with several different things, but they haven't had huge collections. It's all been like very small and curated and in line with the stuff that people seem to be kind of responding to. So I appreciate that. I don't need it, but I like it. The last thing that we're talking about is something that has been sneak peeked, and this is Give Me Glow Cosmetics. This is their My Little Teddy Cool Edition. Look, you know how I feel about cool toned eyeshadow palettes, and they're saying something about, this is a sneak peek since Black Friday is around the corner, so it looks like this might be coming out around Black Friday. This is quite interesting. They were talking about some blush palettes last week, and now we have this. The last time they did a huge collection, they did have a teddy bear collection, and there was a lot in it. Like there was blushes and there was an eyeshadow palette that looked not like this, but it had like the same engravings and whatever. It was like more warm in tone, and there was like some lip products. I'm wondering if that's going to be the same thing here, in which case I think I'm going to get a bit overwhelmed. But I think it's a beautiful looking palette, and I do have a few Give Me Glow Cosmetics. They seem to have changed things up. I don't know if their formula has changed because I haven't tried them since that new zhuzhing up, but it looks really interesting, so I'm excited to see what the story is. But that, my gorgeous friends, is it. Thank you so much for watching. I am very excited about getting my kittens and all of the excitement that may ensue. I haven't filmed swatching Sundays yet, but I am planning on doing the Gloss Gods Starry Skies if I get the chance, and you never know, I might have some kittens in said video. However, I do have my favourite comment, and this is from Pierre T Productions, who said Narimi is coming out with new palettes. I'm getting those instead of Adept. I thought that was such a great comment because I love how much you guys are clued into things. You know, when I start off and I say, oh, you guys help me to put together an episode, you really do, because you're on the pulse with things. You're letting me know what's happening, and I so appreciate as well that you guys are thinking about your purchases, because that's something that I'm actively trying to do as well. That you're saying, yeah, okay, instead of getting this, I'm gonna get this instead. Like, there's a lot more mindful purchasing, so I feel like I found people that are probably better for me in the way that I need to approach makeup. So I just want to say thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. But that, my gorgeous friends, is it. Thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell because it's polite, and do please share because sharing is caring, except of course for STDs, in which case just wrap it up. Don't be gross. But that's it. That's the end of the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.